Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Establishing Work Environments that Promote Women in STEM, in honor of February 11, which is the International Day for Women and Girls in Science. This day recognizes the critical role of women in the fields of science and technology, which is why we're pleased. Before we begin, I would like to speak a little bit about the PBC Center of Excellence. SERB is the first outreach initiative of the Pakistan Business Council, founded with the intention of facilitating Pakistan's enterprises in more inclusive and sustainable value creation. The PBC, as you all know, is the country's premier research-based advocacy group for the private sector, with 88 of Pakistan's largest businesses comprising its membership. The PBC members generate 40% of annual exports, and their combined sales account for every 9th rupee of Pakistan's GDP. Capacity and capabilities of the private sector, namely environmental stewardship, sustainable systems, transforming business culture, ethical practices, creating livelihoods, and gender equality, which is why we're here today. Specifically, one of SERB's approaches to these strategic goals is helping Pakistan meet the United Nations Agenda for 2030, encased in the Sustainable Development Goals or the Global Goals, covering major aspects of human development, such as economic equity and education, and our relationship and responsibility towards the environment. Hence, SERB invites collaborations from the PBC's business community who showcase their leadership through strategies and underlying values that enable their contribution to strategic goal, gender equality, and this is a collaboration with Engspar. We look at the agenda, and then we will move on to panel discussion. So first of all, we will have a address from Naza Sheikha. She is strategic roadmap implementation. Panel, I will have engineer by profession in technology startups in the UAE. And I would like to also bring my experience here to then after the panel discussion, there will be a Q&A from moderated by Samina Khoon. This will be for our panelists. Questions will come in through the chat box. So for whoever comments, and we will try to get to them. And then finally, we will close with some remarks from Naza Sheikha again. Before we begin the panel, I would like to take out the time to recognize Connect Here Diversity and Inclusion HBL. Connect Here has been a pioneer in inclusivity for Pakistan's deaf community of 10.2 million people. They offer various services in improving the country's accessibility for the hearing impaired, raising awareness, passion, and dedication, shared by our helping SERB maximize its efforts in inclusive development. Nazish, now I will hand on the reins to you.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me? Yep. Okay, I'm just gonna give a very short introduction because I would really like to hear from our panelists today. I'm just gonna start off with a personal story. So many years ago, when I was in school, I was studying chemistry at A levels, and I still remember what my teacher said then. He was a British teacher. Mr. Keenan was his name, and what he said, because there were a lot of South Asian girls in my class, what he said was, the only way that your nations can succeed if your women join the workforce as equal partners. And at that point, we were like, what is he saying? But hindsight has taught me how these words are still true today. And I feel that this is a starting point for us. And right now, we're still, at that point where we still need to encourage women to join the workforce, and especially women in STEM. when we at SERB, when we've been working on these indicators, we recognize women working in STEM as women were in traditional jobs. Now is the time to recognize that women, those are jobs also suited to women. And then in the 5 years that we've been carrying this conversation on with SERB, incidentally, this journey started when we did our gender diversity survey with Sadaf Abid, who's on the panel today as well. And we've had a number of conversations on this. And I'm just going to give you some things that I remember. And the CEO of a pharmaceutical company said that we only hire women. Women are in pharmacy graduates. And we made it so that we have a zero tolerance policy for harassment. So any single complaint, so this is something when we're talking to a CEO or automotive company, because and are more suited for even the assembly jobs, because they're now more nimble and they can assemble parts better. But unfortunately, we're never able to attract women even on the assembly floor. So now we need a change in direction, and we need to focus on the fact that women are will lead to economy, and ADB and IMF and World Bank force and getting to 50% parity can lead to a 30% boost in our economy. So from this conversation, from this, I would like to now hand over to Raja and the start of the panel discussion.
Thank you so much for those words, Nazish. This day means a lot, and recognition for women in STEM is so crucial. And we just hope that we're contributing somehow to encourage women to enter STEM fields and see that so many women have already pioneered this career pathway. So we're going to hear from these women now. I will hand over. Thank you so much for being here today. Samin, over to you.
Thank you, Raja. Good morning, everyone. Samin Ahmed, and I'll be a moderator for today. With no further ado, let's begin our discussion. Why are there so few women pursuing their education and their careers in STEM? The answer lies in part in our perception and our unconscious belief that about gender, the mathematics and science is more of a male-oriented, and humanitarian and art as being female-oriented. Research shows that people judge women to be less competent than men in the male jobs unless they are clearly successful in their work, putting a lot of pressure on women. My first question goes out to Dr. Shepper Mirza. How has the challenge been when establishing your credibility as a researcher? Women often suffer from perception against
much, Ms. Safwan, and I'm going to go back to my college. Actually, was when in the Department of Biochemistry established not just fields, but of course people knew a lot more about it. I started biology, but still didn't know what to have faith in yourself, and you have to believe in yourself. But it comes with a accomplish something, be able to show people that you have some material, you're made of that. I think people just kind of follow along. So there are very few people said something about conventionality, for the lack of better words, in terms of professional barriers. Be a men's job, but now some of the or medicine physiologists are women, and most famous physicians year for women really important in terms of microbiology or in terms of human health or in physiology. So you see, people are recognizing women, and those glass ceilings to make up your mind, and you know exactly where you are heading. There is the way forward.
Thank you so much. Fantastic to know that they're breaking barriers and there are a lot more women in, and I, you should be proud of yourself where you are today.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, I give myself a pat on my back.
Fantastic. Moving on to directly, in your years of experience in this field, what were the aspects of your job that you found most challenging? Was it the work culture, the facilities, the opportunity to grow, or anything else? Would you like to add, shed some light to it?
Hello, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Really happy to be here, especially with this very accomplished panel. So sharing my own experience, I have been extremely lucky. I would like to say that I have, throughout my career, been in spaces where I felt supported, both in terms of the structural support needed. So in the early days of my career, I was in the UK, where the policies around maternity leave, around parental responsibility leaves were very generous, and I think that's a place where Pakistan is also catching up. So in the early years of my career, which is the time when a lot of these structural kind of systems need to be present their careers, they are really significant. I had that support. So that's also one of the things that I think is most critical, because we have to kind of, that's the foundation. And then obviously there's the other stuff. So in that sense, I was very lucky. More that in and the only challenge was probably more internal and mindset oriented. So all heard Rome, and that lack of confidence early in the career. I think that's absolutely important. Women have increasing levels of self-doubt and low levels of confidence compared to their, which are not reflective of their competence, because when you compare their competence against men, they actually out-excel them. Some of the benchmarks are that our confidence reaches comparable levels to our male colleagues well into our 40s, which is way too late. So that confidence building and that sort of supporting each other, some formal training into helping build that confidence, especially in the early stages of one's career. So I think we needlessly suffer alone. It's one place where we can really support each other, and raising that awareness is really important. Another thing that I felt, I myself felt that, and as women, we know there's studies that show that, for example, we'll only apply for a job if we tick all the boxes on the requirements, whereas men will apply only if they kind of meet 3 out of the 10 requirements, and they'll go through. So, and we also tend to attach a lot of our self-worth to others' perception of us. So if we can get over that barrier, if somehow we can basically, kind of know, I think awareness, as they say, forewarned is forearmed. So knowing these traps that you may fall into equips you. The awareness alone really gives you that ability to really counter these things, because they're quite common. So I think these were the main challenges that I came across, and once I was able to overcome these, it was mostly, I have had an immense amount of support from culturally, as well as in terms of structural support from all the employers that I've worked with.
Thank you so much for that, Fajia. Definitely self-doubt, that is probably the biggest handicap women face, and constantly questioning yourself. And it's very interesting to hear that women reach that level of confidence in their 40s, which may be too late to start the game. Moving on to Raja, you've also been in the field for 5 years. Would you like to add something to this?
Yes, thank you, Samin. So what I would say that was like the biggest challenge for me was asking for facilities in the office. I was specifically for women, but I think related to that was this constant feeling of being the only one. It's a lot easier to ask for things when you feel like there's other people with the same requirements. You don't feel so out of place. You don't feel as though what you're asking for is something so unusual. And the main thing about engineering the field is there's a lot of a brotherhood. We break into that, it becomes in. So I think that I would count as like one of the biggest challenges that I faced. And then obviously when you continue trying to ask for more and more things, the more and more the focus seems to be on you, as though like you are here to change the office culture instead of get the job done. But what you really want to do is to do your job, and what you're asking for is to facilitate your ability to do your job. So I think that definitely is what was on my mind the entire time that I worked as an engineer. When I started working at SERB, Samin and Azesh are two of the women that I work with, and then the PBC is very friendly towards female employees. So that was a huge change in for me and my work environment. I still am very proud of my engineering background. And I do hope that I have actually seen a lot more female engineers enter the field. Even when I was there, in different companies, you would find 1 or 2 women in STEM. It wasn't the case that some companies, I think when I joined, there was just 1 or 2 women in every company, and not like 5 or 7 women in one department. So you feel like you belong. So I think, Samin. I would also like to add just 1 second. At 11:30, we will switch interpreters. So Alia will join from next year. And would also like to thank Minerva for the excellent contribution.
Thank you for that, Raja. Yes, it can definitely get lonely there, and you try to fit in, and that again brings in the level of self-doubt that you shouldn't be feeling. I mean, your work should be what you should be focusing. Okay, moving on. All continue to outnumber women, especially at the mid to top level profession, like any other profession around. Representation within STEM field in Pakistan is less than 18%. For women, so that's within STEM. There's even less, less than 80% representation of women. Globally, the statistics show that engineers are twice as likely to leave the company. Women engineers. We all know the important role that HR plays in acquiring and maintaining maintaining talent. The following question goes out to both Madiha and Gulzareen. They're representing the HR departments. In your experience, which skills can be cultivated by HR executives to recognize the unique challenges of women women in STEM, how can these challenges be approached with empathy and open-mindedness? You can take it one by one, or you could take one part of the question, however you would.
All right, so I think I'll start off. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me here and for being part of such, resilient and empowered people. And yes, I was just listening on to the conversation and rightly said, what has been said earlier about self-doubt, about infrastructure concerns, they are part of the daily life. And when you talk about, contributing, HR contributing to these elements, we unfortunately still in a situation where, we do not have that kind of infrastructure. Women engineers available to them, where that becomes a major concern for them to deliver their work capacity, as Raja pointed out. But what HR is looking to do, and I speak on behalf of Siemens here, is definitely to assist women and to empower them to continue to work. And when we talk about that, when we talk about challenges for women in STEM, what are the challenges? Currently, our socioeconomic status and our cultural status still largely is prevalent, where people in women particularly have a lot of cultural, obligations that they need to do. They need to take career breaks. They need to and they need to come back to work. So that is something that, HR needs to focus on. And who gets education, our education part of society and the government aspect where education systems are yet not up to par. They do have obsolete methods. Important women to go on job of the of the organization